Welcome to the Riff. Today on the Riff, Jeremy and Justin sit down and celebrate 100 episodes. They eat cake, have balloons, wear little party hats, and use those neat little party kazoos. Actually, they don't have or do any of that, but they do talk about longevity and essentiality, and how the two work together or against one another at times. We hope today is helpful. Thanks for listening.
Welcome, Riff listeners. What a day this is.
I've been waiting for this day.
Don't tell them how long. Don't tell them how long.
Okay.
This is a special day.
It's a special day.
I would say us just communicating that's a special day probably reminds the riffraff.
Yeah.
The tribe of Riff followers.
Yes.
That we call them the riffraffers.
They've been so ready for this
When I
day.
run into them at Aldi's.
Oh my
I'm like,
goodness.
you're a riffraffer, aren't you?
Okay, so I think it's just Aldi. It's not Aldi's.
No, I was talking about when I go to several of them. Like if I go to Aldi and then another Aldi, I've gone to Aldi's. And when I run into people at the same one, I'm like, why are you going to both Aldi's?
Do you say both Walmarts?
Yeah. Well, I rarely, because I usually, Walmart, they got the same thing, so I only go to one.
Oh.
So, yeah. Anyway.
But they're so excited.
But our riffraff's excited, and they don't even know why.
I know.
But intrinsically, they probably understand. Today's a special day. Tell us a little bit about why today is a special day and why we dressed up for this.
Well, today
Yeah.
is episode 100.
Triple digits.
100.
100. We've had, out of the 100, how many would be good?
I'd say I can think right now of 6.
Yes.
Yeah, I really like 6
And the thing
of them.
is, you miss every shot you don't take.
That's so
and so we're going to keep in this pursuit of number 7. And this is episode 100. That's a long
time.
That's 2 years almost of Rip episodes. Every Monday we drop one.
Every week.
I mean, if it is Arbor Day, do we still drop one, or
Absolutely.
do we drop it?
Yeah.
Jesus' birthday,
Absolutely.
drop it. We just drop them every Monday. So
I know.
yeah, and so why don't you go on if you're hosting a live chat party with your friends because it's Monday and it's a drop day, just go. Let's give you a second right now and drop how many Riff episodes you've listened to. We'll give you some time. Okay, that's probably plenty. Hey, today in honor of this being a long standing 100 weeks now, what are we talking about?
Okay, this one's going to be interesting. So I think the excitement's over. Because now what we're going to
it's waning, but it's still there. Yeah.
We're actually going to talk about longevity versus essentiality.
Okay.
So it's great. It's great that we made 100. Oh, man, let's high five. But you and I had a great conversation a couple days ago just on the idea of something lasting for a long time and then us celebrating that. Like, why? Right? I brought up, I don't want to get to the end of my life and be like, we made it. 60 years of marriage, Jamie. We did it. If the marriage sucked, I don't want to celebrate that. I want my marriage to be essential in my life. I want it to count. I want it to matter. So as we're at 100, it's like, that's awesome. So we just started talking about the riff, right? We're like, cool, 100. But are we celebrating because we made 100? Or are we celebrating because it's essential? So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the whole idea of longevity, essentiality, what that looks like, what that's looked like in your life, and then just a couple of different examples because it has been messing with my mind. A guy, Danny Meyer, he's a union hospitality group out in New York. He's from St. Louis.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy, right? I know.
So is Sterling Brown.
No kidding.
Yeah,
I
from
did
This Is
not
Us.
know that.
Mm-hmm. He does commercials for them.
Really?
Yeah, for them, St. Louis.
Right, yeah.
So Danny Meyer.
He was on a podcast. He's a restaurateur, and he was talking about this idea, right? He was talking about how he had closed restaurants, and in the restaurant business, there's like a mark when you make it past a generation. So you become a generational restaurant. And he got to a point where he was like, I don't really care. He's like, and he talked about songs, and it like totally stuck with me, and it's been messing with my mind for like the last 3 months, like totally. But he talked about these songs that you would listen to, right? Like, you would never want to listen to the same song over and over and over for the next 45 years. But a song can mean so much to you in a month time or a year's time or a moment. And he's like, that's what I want to provide. And I'm like, yes. Like, that's what I want my life to be. I want them to be these moments to where they just matter. So we're going to talk about that. So I've got so many questions for you. Oh, my goodness.
Which is good because I brought absolutely zero content to the table. So I was hoping someone did. Here's the deal: we don't both need to be on our A game for a podcast.
No,
we need one of us,
and that gives us
if
a
we're going to
good,
hit number
solid
7.
C.
Yeah.
Just a nice average podcast out there. Really nice, very vanilla.
Let's talk turkey. Come on now.
Okay, so what does that resonate with you? Like, have you found yourself in a space to where you're like, man, I really want this to matter? Or are you in a space and kind of a frame of mind of like, oh, I hope this lasts for 10 years?
Yeah.
What how do you roll?
No, I'm a pretty opportunistic driven leader, meaning for me, it's always about, does this next or new or even current task, project, opportunity, does this usher in a higher level of impact of what I'm trying to do? So, for me, that's how I gauge success. That's how I gauge health is, are we making an impact? So as a parent, I think that's a big deal. Like, like you said about, with a marriage, is my goal isn't to have the longest marriage. My goal is to have the healthiest marriage. Now, I think a healthy marriage goes a long time, right?
Right.
That's a fairly key ingredient,
right?
But you can't ignore a lack of health just because you've strung a bunch of them together, right? Years. Same thing with parenting is like, man, I want to have a great relationship. I want to say, okay, where's the trajectory of my relationship with my kids right now? When it comes to my role at North Point, it is, I feel like, man, I've been here 11 years. I'm probably, I would imagine, closer to my last day than my first day, because I don't anticipate being here until 90, and I'm not like 9 years until 90, but there's going to be a day where it makes more sense missionally for someone else to have the role. And so none of that's weird for me. It's never been weird for me 11 years ago. It's not weird for me 11 years later. What the thing for me is, every day and every season, I think, okay, are we maximizing this? Is this an opportunity where we can move the needle forward in our impact, in our purpose, right? Dream Center, we need to always be thinking, what programs must now be thought of to hit the current needs of the community that we're surrounded by? Any of our age ministries, like young adults, Kid Point, students, is what is the now way to reach students in an age and stage with Jesus? So I think, so this resonates with me. Like for me, the last thing, what I always think about podcasts, every month we talk about this, where we have some things is, the last thing we're trying to do is be white noise for people.
Right.
Whether it's weekends, podcasts, groups, is if we're confident this can help people and it's an ROI on someone's journey in whatever facet it is, let's dive into it. Let's go for it. Let's be creative. Let's not let challenge get in our way. Let's put a ton of time and effort and energy into something. But the moment something's not effective, get rid of it, because we can't collect just in this proverbial storage closet of ideas and ministries and activities, this idea of, this is great. So it all resonates. I could have said, yes, it resonates, but I wanted to give a lot more
this
words.
is better. This is
Right,
better.
yeah.
And we got like a time limit we want to hit and all that kind of stuff. So it helps.
I grew up like the teachers would say, hey, I want like 600 words limit.
Yeah.
And so I just go with that.
It makes sense, man. It makes sense. How can you tell if something is essential or working, or do you go off just of a feel, a vibe? What is that for you?
Yeah, always a vibe, but bottom line is you can't trust your vibe. So I think the key there is ask, and anyone should ask, should have a conversation, and then check other people's thoughts with your vibe. But here's the danger: if I have a vibe that, man, this is cranking, right? I can give myself or my involvement the benefit of the doubt that what I'm doing is making an impact, or what I'm doing is hitting a perceived need. And if I don't ask, I might be one of the last persons in the room to understand, to have awareness that what I'm doing is no longer serving its original purpose. And so I think it's always good to ask. Now, at the same time, don't be insecure about you have a negative voice and you cut something prematurely. But I think you just need to add that awareness. So for me, I think that's important. in my mind, like I want to be intentional. I want to be open. So there's a couple levels. One, open when someone comments about something and not dismissing it, not being defensive. But secondly, being intentional and saying, hey, are we serving this? I think the great business people they don't just respond to customers' complaints. They go after customer feedback and they figure out, okay, are we getting the right feedback? So I know this is a little different, but I don't know that we talked about this in the podcast. The book from, is it Michael Unreasonable Hospitality? Gadara,
Yes.
Right? Yeah, because I always say guitar man, yeah, but it's Gadara, okay? That's kind of I know that you've taken a team through that book. Some of this idea of I need to be effective, what's that look like in that setting?
It exactly what you're talking about, right? Like an absolute ruthless elimination of things that don't work.
Okay.
And letting go of things that might be considered sacred or how you had once done them. He gives these small examples, right, of even how Gadara actually was mentored by Danny Meyer, who I brought up earlier. Like they're all the same kind of group, right? But he talks about how all of this stuff that he learned in the restaurant business, even the way they plate their meals, like there were different pieces that were in the plating mechanism that didn't make sense for them. And they just do it because of tradition and people are expecting it.
Is it like that little green like mini tree that a lot of people put, like Denny's used to always put?
Yeah, I think it's
and I'm like, I accidentally took a bite out of that once. I didn't know it was decoration.
Yeah, it's exactly what he's talking about. I think it's a little bit more fine dining than Denny's, but it would be like a Dennis's kind of place.
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be really Denny.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep, Sunshine Street.
But he talks about how like when they took that stuff away, like everybody in the restaurant business were like, how dare you? He's like, it doesn't make sense for us. It doesn't make sense for our mission. It doesn't make sense for our people in this space. It doesn't make sense for the things that we're actually trying to accomplish, right? Yeah. And I've loved that. That's one of the most impactful books I've read in the past 4 years. It's been phenomenal. It's a great read. And I've been like just so honed in on anything that's like has to do with restaurants because I have this, it's so interesting to me because I think that food is essential.
Yeah.
You got to have food. But a restaurant isn't, right? So a restaurant is the way that you plate.
Empty nester, I might disagree with you. We tend to go to a lot more now than when we had kids, but keep going.
The restaurant is the vehicle to get to the food.
Yes.
So we were on vacation last week and we had an incredible dining experience at one place and they served food. And we had a horrible dining experience. Not horrible, just like that. We're not going to remember that. And they served food.
Okay.
Like they're both serving food, right? But it's how you're plating that. And that just got me thinking just about everything that I do, right? Like what is the actual essential part and then how do we actually put it together? And that's what Gadara talks about is we're providing an experience. We're not providing necessarily the thing that you're coming here to get is our lobster, right? That's what we are serving and we're going to do it the best that we know how to and we're going to wow you with it. But we're actually giving you an experience to take home with you because we know that you're walking through these doors and it might be the last time you eat with your mom, right? It might be a memory. It might be the first time you eat with your wife. It might be like all of these moments that people are walking in and they're handing you this experience and saying, can I trust you with this? And I just had this feeling that there's so many of these restaurants that you read about that actually do church better than church. Where I'm like, that's what people are doing in church. Like they're not coming for our show. They're not coming for like, I hope they sing this song. They're coming to see Jesus. Right. Jesus is essential.
Yeah.
Like spirituality is essential. Now, how do we plate it? Right? So that's what I've been like messing with my mind of like, what is essential in everything that I do? So when it comes to marriage, when it comes to parenting, when it comes to all of those pieces, what is the essential part? And I just don't want to get wrapped up in a situation to where because we did it for 10 years or we did it for 15 years, it was a success.
Right.
I don't know if it was. And it might have even been more hurtful and harmful, right? So tell me something that you have drug on too long where you're like, yeah, I should have killed this or I should have stopped this because I knew that it wasn't essential. And how did you know once you got to that space? Could be personal, could be work, could be anything that you got.
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking, and when I hit that, what jumps to my mind though is this idea of jumping the shark, which comes from the Happy Days, which was one of the longest running sitcoms of 70s or something. It was pre my TV viewing, but we get the phrase "jumping the shark." from one that where people would look back and say that was the episode they totally lost their mission. That Fonz, is it Fozzie? Fozzie is the Muppets.
Fozzie.
The Fonz.
Oh, the Fonz. Fozzie is a bear.
Fozzie's the bear.
Waka waka.
Waka waka waka. Right.
I don't know if he sounds 100% like that.
No, I think he does. I just read the books, so I honestly don't know. Yeah. That's how I imagined it. But so is in this episode, it comes way apparently he jumps a shark surfing or something, and that has now become this iconic statement of you went on way too long and now it's painfully obvious, right? As you jumped the shark, is you went away from your mission. And so we've talked about it before in staff of how you have a mission, right? This is the mission that you should be married to. Like for us at North Point, it's creating a safe place for people to find and follow Jesus. We're committed to that. We're married to that. But then there's models of how we do this, right? Is we do this by, it's this 70-minute presentation, by doing, there were seasons where it's every single week, it's going to be like a top 100 pop song or something, right? And people be like, dang, I can't believe we're doing this in church, right? And it hit the mission. It served the mission. But eventually that will jump the shark. And so we talk about how you don't marry the model, you date the model, date a model, marry the mission. Right? There are fun things that we can try, and we want to have the freedom to try. Like even when we talk, like big things like video venue multi-site church, right? That's not the mission. Our mission is not, we will be broadcasting my face on screens across 17 different suburbs in Southwest Missouri by the year 2037, right? That's not the mission.
But it's a cool shirt.
It is a great shirt.
That is a campaign and a half.
Yes, it is. But the model, multi-site video venue, North Point didn't start with that as a mission, but it became a model because of necessity. And so everything from how we do it, what we do it, where we do it has always been, hey, what's the best decision now to hit our mission. So there have been things in my life where to get to the answer of what have I stuck with way too long in life, man. For me, sometimes it's been a group, right? Like, hey, we're continuing to meet because this was very helpful without realizing, man, it was a season and a reason. Okay, so now let's cut the cord. It's totally cool. Let's cut the cord and let's take a break from this, or it's all right to try another group of community and get it going because for another season, another stage. So it could be in community sense, financial sense, times where I've done an envelope system, right? Because that was a financial peace university deal and it served its purpose. And but when you lose enough envelopes, you stop doing an envelope system, right? But bottom line is you say, okay, whether it's a spiritual thing, a relational deal, hey, this is for a season, a reason, a season.
It's good. A sweet spot would be something that is essential and has longevity, just like you were talking about with a marriage, right?
Yeah.
How do you get into a space to where you focus? I think you do a great job with this. I've seen you do these moments a lot to where you really are able to focus on, is this making an impact?
Yes.
Like you are a very evaluation heavy type of personality. So how do you stay in that space and not get comfortable with the longevity and make it seem like the longevity is your success, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, one, I start with a thought of, I don't think longevity is spiritual as a general rule. No, I believe in perseverance, commitment, and probably preach on it or all those kind of things. But as a general rule, we don't have enough information to be able to answer the question, is doing fill in the blank longer going to be more spiritual? Paul didn't live like that, right? Paul was going from place to place to place to place. Jesus left with a purpose, with a mission, as part of the mission, right? So a lot of what we see in Scripture are people who were gripped with purpose for the season and the reason that they were there, right? And so we need to understand, okay, just by itself, just the idea of longevity, great if it's still working, but is it still working is a more important question. So I think the Amazon delivery is here.
That sounds like
Or
a
is that your
doorbell.
pizza rolls? Are they done? Is that what that means?
Okay,
let them cool.
Listen, we'll get back to the talk.
No, we might not.
We might not, but what would you call it? A hot debate between us? Would you call it that?
I would say it is it's a tension
It's
that
a hardcore tension.
yeah, we're probably not as close as we used to be.
No.
And this is the reason why.
Yeah. So I am a pizza roll guy. Okay.
Yeah.
You give me you get Tino to my house, have him make some of his pizza rolls, and
man.
I will eat a full bag of 90. I'll do it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
We don't recommend.
We don't recommend because it does make me sick.
Yeah.
It's got to be oven. Okay.
Yeah.
Can't be microwave.
Okay.
You got to oven those babies.
Yeah.
Okay. But you,
Yeah. Bagel bite guy.
which I don't understand. I don't even get.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think one, just the safety of the tongue, right? Because when you bite into one of those Totinas, hot, man, that lava, good night. It's not even safe.
Safety of the tongue is a good one.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah, have you even considered that?
I haven't considered that because I have burnt my tongue.
Yeah. Bagel bite cools quicker because it's not in a cocoon.
Yeah, but the cocoon, like you get the explosion of flavor from the cocoon.
I just thought of something.
What?
Was that bell that we don't know what the answer was?
I don't-
That was a
they
bell.
might not even
It is
heard it.
episode 100. Do you think the Riff Raff ordered something special for us?
For sure.
That's probably what that
I bet
was.
it's a cake.
Yeah.
I bet it is.
It's a cake.
I hope they heard the bell because this is going to make no sense if they didn't hear the bell.
Yeah.
There was a doorbell that happened
There
in the
was a
studio.
doorbell. Yeah.
I can't wait for the cake.
Should we get back to the episode?
What were you talking about?
I think we
longevity.
were done. I think we were talking about the tension between us.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, longevity, which is our attention span is not. So, okay, questions to ask. We talk about this as a team.
Yes.
Okay? Is what is the purpose? Always ask, what is the purpose of something? Okay, what is my purpose? Second thing is, how is this personal? Right, and then you got to say, okay. What part of my gift mix DNA helps me be able during this season to dive into this purpose and advance the purpose?
When you were going through this with the staff, I think that was the most helpful and clarifying piece for me.
Okay.
Because I think when I lose the personal attachment to whatever I'm doing, whether it be in a job or an event or a project or whatever, I lose passion. And then it becomes a longevity thing where it's like, oh, cool. But if I don't have the personal connection, the passion goes away from me. So I think that's been a very helpful element to have when you're evaluating. Keep going.
I would say this on that personal is you have to care more than anybody else,
Right.
because it is so if whether it's parenting, whether it's finances, whether it's something at work, is if you're overseeing something, part of ownership is saying I must care about it. I have to care more than the person who oversees me. I've got to deeply care about this, and then we've talked probably on a podcast since we've done like 100 of them, and I've got like 6 ideas. So I'm sure we've done one of the concentric circles of your proficiency, your passion, and your purpose. And you got to find which thing hits all of those. Proficiency is what are you good at? What's something that someone would pay you to do? Passion is what, when you do it, lights you up. And then purpose is what, when you do it, lights someone else up. Mm-hmm. So for me, singing, like worship, I talk about. For me, I'm not proficient, and I don't think it lights anybody else up. I don't even think Jesus really enjoys it, but I'm fine with it. So another one for me is selling sports cards. I think I'm decent at it, and it lights me up every time I get a notification, ding, ding, ding in my pocket. That might have been I sold something on eBay. That's probably what the bell was.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, it lights me up. I haven't figured out a way for that to have a ton of purpose. But when I can do something that, man, maybe people are like, why I like Wednesday nights at the Dream Center is you're good at dishing, whether it's mac and cheese or mashed potatoes, you're good at customer service, making people feel special. So you're good at it. It lights you up when you're giving people that dignity and value in a practical way. And other people feel valued by the way you treat them. That is ding, ding, ding. That is, so that's making it personal, right? So taking a purpose instead of saying, okay, well, I've got to, the goal isn't you got to dish out 300 scoops of mac and cheese by the end of the night, is the goal is, can I put everything that I have into this? And so what's the purpose? How do you make it personal? And then 3, I think, is who are your people, right? Is who's the team around you that can help make something special, right? Whether it's a crew of volunteers, you see a problem in your community. So it's not enough just to notice and complain and voice it. Is you've got some gifts to be able to put to this, but then you also got some people, sphere of influence, to rally around to bring solution. And then we talk about product. What will the product be, right? What will it look like? Envision that, because that picture of what it's going to look like is going to be what carries you when you're not there yet. Like, man, why are we working so hard? Why are we doing this again? Because this is what we're trying to see accomplished is this product. So, yeah.
It's really good. I think that we did an episode on just a couple of different like evaluation tools, and what that looks like. And I think that you've brought that mentality to the team, and I think it's helped with this. I mean, it's interesting because you're like, I'm not a longevity guy. I mean, you've been here for more than a decade, right? Yeah, so it's not like you don't believe in longevity, as you were saying. And I do think it would be different if you were like here for 6 months and you haven't held a job for a year.
Longevity's overrated.
Longevity's overrated. Oh yeah, there might be something else going on. Yep. But you have proved that longevity can be healthy as long as it's healthy, right? And you brought health and
now, speaking of t-shirts,
longevity is healthy on the front, on the back, as long as it's healthy.
Yep.
$20.
As long as it's healthy.
$20.
Yeah.
And heather gray and sky blue. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I know,
My
man.
eyes pop with sky blue.
So I think that it's just so crucial, because I don't want to do something that doesn't matter, man.
Yeah.
I don't. And I think that it's just so important. And that talk that you give to the staff, I think, is just so important that you have to constantly evaluate that. Yeah. You have to.
Permission to blow everything up.
Yes.
If it is because I'm not hitting the purpose.
Right.
We don't value change.
Right.
We value effectiveness.
Yes.
And we're willing to have change.
It's going to be the same thing in a marriage, right? Where
Yes.
I'm like, I just don't feel it. I'm
Yeah.
going to blow everything up.
Right.
No.
Right.
You're going to have to change some things, right?
Yes.
But evaluate it. It's not it's the whole deconstruction thing, right? It's all of it.
Yeah, we just did a series on it.
Yes.
Yeah. Of like, hey, you can't say, hey, I just want something changed. Let me try a different foundation.
Right.
Because you got to grab, what is the whole purpose of my faith?
Yeah.
The model of it is totally up for grabs.
Yeah. Chisel away.
Yep. And hang on to Jesus, right?
Right.
But that's true with anything that starts. So with that, everything we do at North Point, what's funny is North Point started because of a mission, and it was started as something new and different because the mission was so important. Mm-hmm. And so obviously we will honor everyone who's been a part of North Point over the last 20 years by continually reinventing to create a safe place for people to find and follow Jesus. What will that look like? So we're going to do that. But North Point's always been like that. What the natural thing will be, we start guarding the model, and valuing the model instead of the mission. Right. And so whether, we're going to do another 100 podcasts, whether it's like our commitment is every Monday, we're going to drop a new podcast. We're going to write a book on why a 67-minute service is the way to reach the millennial. Whatever we stumble and bumble into isn't as important as we help people grow, take a next step in their faith, experience Jesus. So it is kind of fun. It'd be fun sometime is we write down 5 things that we currently love about North Point that we doubt if we'll be doing it the same way in 10 years, right? Like that would be, and then put it in a time capsule.
Oh, yes, I love time capsules.
I love them. Oh, I always bring a shovel with me. 'Cause anytime I see something in town, a place, I'm like, that would be a cool time capsule. I always think, I bet someone else has already thought of that. Put one there, and I dig for it. Not found one yet, but boy, is it fun.
No, it's
Boy, is it fun.
Great method, man.
I just get hyper on 100 anniversaries.
I know, man. They're so exciting.
Yep. Yeah. So
I can't wait till 200. Or can I?
Will it be in another 100 weeks?
I don't know,
right?
man. It could be 10 years from now. I don't know. It depends on if it's essential.
Speaking of 100, we have 100 total downloads now on the Riff.
Wow.
And that is because of our Riff Raff. So, hey, it is a big deal for us. If you use this as a place for you to think, whether it's leadership or sometimes it's stories of North Pointers, but it's a big deal. What we really value is those who are somewhere around our area or influence who don't have a relationship with Jesus. We hope people see Jesus clearly. Those who are on this mission, we want to grow. We want to grow and become a little bit more like Jesus, a little more effective in that mission of helping create a safe place for people to find and follow Jesus. So,
It's great. Speaking of longevity, we're at time.
Yeah, we are.
So we can keep going.
We usually go 30 minutes. I think we can cut it off 20 seconds early because
how do you feel like
longevity is overrated.
That's so true.
We're not people.
Let's just end it now. No,
quitters.
No, I'm not quitters. Optimizers.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. See you, Riff Raff. Congratulations, Justin, on the 100.
Congratulations, Jeremy.
Thank you. We better cut it off short.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.